Welcome to the Smart Dating Academy podcast. I'm Bela, the founder of Smart Dating Academy and your host. I started Smart Dating Academy in 2009 because I had this crazy knack of giving people dating advice that actually worked, that I took. I've been married for almost 25 years, and now my company helps people to date smarter and to find love. This podcast is meant to bring more love into your life, no matter where you are and what you do. And we're here to bring more life into your love. Smart daters, welcome back to this week's podcast. You know, every now and then you go to a party and you don't know that you're going to know many people. And so this fine day in Chicago, I was invited to a gathering and I drove about 78 minutes in traffic to get to this beautiful woman's house. And I walked in alone. It was like what I have you guys do as single people, walk into an event alone and just say yes to the invitation. And I met this very charming woman named Elise, and we got to talking, and she's also a coach. And she said to me, Bella, you need to know my brother. He is a celebrity stylist. He's in New York and his name is Andrew. So I am so happy and humbled that Andrew Gelwicks has decided to join us today as a celebrity stylist on this podcast to tell us all of the things. Andrew, welcome to the Smart Dating Academy podcast.
Thank you, Bella. I'm so excited to be here.
We're super excited to have you. Well, just start out and tell us about how do you become a celebrity stylist? Like, tell us your story.
It's so funny because, and I talk about this with people who are interested in being a stylist and wanting to enter fashion. And there's a good and bad answer to this. And that is that there's no one way to become a stylist. I almost wish there was a way to become a doctor. You go to undergrad, you go to med school, all the steps. Whereas with this, people have past careers and they enter into styling. So for me, I used to work in editorials. So I worked in magazines. I was at GQ. And then I went to Teen Vogue, where I was doing celebrity booking. So I kind of combined the entertainment aspect and the fashion aspect and kind of bridged that together into working with celebrities on their fashion.
Okay, so let's dig into that. That's amazing. But I'm sure there were certain moments, what was your moment? What was that inflection point where you're like, I'm going to do this?
I mean, it's one of those things where I grew up in Ohio. I would always steal my mom's Vanity Fair magazines because I would love to look at all the red carpet photos and all the glamorous actresses and their beautiful dresses. And that was always something that, was a kind of a fantasy for me. But also being Ohio, it really felt like a fantasy. It wasn't a thought of mine that, that's actually a career path that you could have. But really, I got to college. I went to school at a small private school in Indianapolis, and they kept talking about internships. And I was like, you know what? I think this is a potential career path. I have no idea what this entails, but I'm just going to email my resumes to all these fashion places and see what happens. And when I got responses, it was kind of this light bulb went off where I was like, wow, this actually is a possibility. There is a career path here. And through that, I just kind of followed it which led me to styling.
Okay, got it. So you were doing GQ, you were doing Teen Vogue. Was there a person at that moment, when did you decide to spring out on your own? I think with so many entrepreneurs, including myself, sometimes there's one moment or there's a couple of moments. And sometimes you only know what that moment is in retrospect. You don't ever, it's I intentionally created this moment. It's you have your oh shit. And you take a chance and you take a leap and that happens. Did you have one of those things? It's like you have this background, you're doing celebrity bookings, your GQ, your Teen Vogue. Like, how did it come to be? Did you have your first celebrity? Like, what happened?
I was doing the celebrity booking, and then I was doing, kind of just as a fun little hobby, I was doing styling on the weekends. I would email modeling agencies and I would say, hey, I'm Andrew. I would call myself a stylist, even though I wasn't. I'm a stylist. If any of your models need help styling photo shoots for their portfolios, I would love to work with them. And I started doing that a few times a weekend. And it, throughout the week, that's what I was looking forward to. And it really kind of hit me that this is what I should be doing. There wasn't necessarily one moment or one instance that really pivoted everything, but kind of that accumulation of realizing this is what's exciting me.
Oh, totally. And that's exactly what I was gunning for. Okay. So now you start to find the juice in your life, the passion.
Yeah.
You're like, this is my heartbeat. This is what I want to do. Oh, I love that. Okay. So you're doing models, you're helping to style photo shoots. And now, I tell us about your evolution. How did you get to, and just to lay it out there, who are tell us the long list of amazing celebrities that you work with. And then we'll back up as to how you got there.
So I've had a really amazing, I've had a lot of opportunities to work with some amazing women. A lot of the clients I work with they really range in age, but Catherine O'Hara from Schitt's Creek, Susan Sarandon, Bette Midler, Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black. So it's really, kind of little Andrew from Ohio is always like, what is happening right now?
Oh my gosh, that just gave me goosebumps. And so now, okay, so listener, you see this, Andrew is the shizzle. So now let's go back, and how do we get to the shizzle? So now you're styling photo shoots as, kind of a side hustle to your hustle. And so what was your first kind of break?
I started working with this model. She was, she was a young teenager then. And she was having some success, and she needed a little help with events that she was going to. And that really was a huge game changer for me, because it pivoted from doing photo shoots to doing real moments like red carpets and things like that. And so through that, I was able to develop kind of a portfolio. And, obviously she was this young, beautiful model. And from having those opportunities, I was able to translate that to working with actresses and, other more established women.
That's amazing. And wow. And when you started working with this model, or when you start working with people in general, do you ask them, like, what is your personality? What do you want to exude? Like, tell me about your process. I'm so fascinated by the beauty that you create.
Oh, sweet. I mean, I think it's similar to probably what you asked as well when you meet with a client. I think in order for me to do my job, I need to tap into them as a person, because I can only see what I see, from their Instagram or from past red carpets or things like that. But it's really also about, what are they hoping to do? What are their goals? What are they wanting to portray that they haven't in the past? And really kind of figuring that out, so I can then translate that into what designers would be best for them to be collaborating with and things like that. So there's very much so, hopefully, a conversation when I begin working with somebody.
Got it. And do you find yourself, Andrew, doing kind of an evolution for people? Like, let's say it's me, I'm Bela, and this is typically what I do, but I would like to be this. Or is it more here's who I am and I just want to be consistent with that? Or is it both? Because it sounds really exciting.
I think it's both. I think it just depends on the person. I think it's really exciting when you get to have that opportunity to kind of do a little bit of a pivot, and take someone maybe who has, who's a really established name and people think they know what to expect from her. And then she shows up and it's something totally different for her. And then you kind of are on this journey of showing her in a new light. I mean, I think that's like a stylist's dream to be able to do something like that.
Right. Just to show different facets of this person, or that they can rock all these different kinds of looks.
Yeah, just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's the fun part about fashion. And, if you watch the Oscars and you're like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. That's exciting. Not like, you don't want to hear like, oh, yep, expected that.
Right. There she is in her red dress again.
Exactly.
I often say that my wardrobe now, especially for appearances, it looks like organized Skittles. Like here's all the red, here's the yellow, here's the orange and the green and the blue. So very jewel tones.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good to know what looks good on you. It's nice to have your staples, but I think it's also nice to kind of give people a little surprise now and then.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love that. And who can you, like, when you're working with, let's say Bette Midler compared to, like a Sarah Jessica Parker or Catherine O'Hara, like what have been some of your favorite moments?
I think, one of my favorite people to collaborate with is Catherine O'Hara.
Who doesn't love her? I mean,
she not only
Moira.
is the loveliest, kindest person, but she's someone who I think really has a lot of fun with fashion. And I think that as a stylist, that just makes my job even more enjoyable, to see someone who really doesn't take it too seriously and just like wants to have fun and, play with it. I think some of the looks we've done over the past few years have been some of my favorite.
That's awesome. And did you style her on the show as well as off the show?
No.
Okay.
I wish I had, but the people who had the costume designers on Schitt's Creek, they deserve all the credit in the world. They nailed that so well.
Obsessed.
Yes.
Obsessed. That's awesome. So she's one of your favorites. And so if you were, if you were talking to, different single women, across the board, could be, and I know it's a hard question because there's different ages and we look different, and we're all our own special snowflakes. But I think something, especially being single, is we all always want to make sure that we're feeling our best and looking our best. And we give people, ideas of what to wear for their photo shoot, like what's going to look best in static photography. And that can translate into what they're going to wear for a date. Is there any, what's one of your favorite tips that you could give to virtually anybody? Let's say if you were writing back for Vogue or for GQ or Teen Vogue again, like, some styling tips that can up just about anybody's game.
The one thing that I tell all clients and I tell everybody, and I hope this isn't a cop-out answer, but I believe in it wholeheartedly, that if you could only do one thing, it is invest in a tailor.
Ooh, good one. Love that.
Tailoring is everything. There is nothing worse than something that's ill-fitting. And the right tailor, that can transform anything to fit you perfectly, to make you feel more confident. I just think the power of tailoring something to your body is the utmost importance. The tailors I work with, I trust them completely, and I just think it can totally make or break any look. And I think that trickles down to what we wear to dinners or lunches or on dates. It doesn't need to be a red carpet to, have something like that. I mean, these are the kind of like the big moments in our lives that we want to look good in. So if we're going on a date, we want to make sure that little black dress is, hugging you perfectly, or those jeans are tailored really nice, and, whatever it is. I just think a good tailor is my biggest fashion tip.
I love that. And here's one thing I can add to that is, if you're thinking, get something tailored, but then also I think for women especially, and I've made this mistake doing shows, like we think we're going to be standing up the whole night, right? So we get things tailored, but now think about how else you're going to be in that outfit. Are you going to be seated? Are you going to be seated on a high stool? So kind of know your use case also when you're getting something tailored, and when you're going to wear that particular piece to a particular event.
Yes. And what I do is we do the sit test. So I know if they're doing like a talk show or something, well, it's going to be seen sitting down primarily. So let's take a seat. Let's look at it from the waist up. Let's see how it's folding in the stomach. Like, it's like know your audience, kind of know your audience for that dress or whatever you're wearing.
That's awesome. And I'm looking at your background, and there's all these shoes. Tell us about what you have going on. Like, what's a typical day in your life? You manage multiple high profile personalities for multiple events that I'm guessing could be a luncheon all the way to the red carpet. Like, what does a typical day in your life look like?
It's one of my favorite things about this work is that every day is so different. Some days range from just like everybody else being at their desk, emails, phone calls, doing things like that, to bopping around the city to different clients to do fittings, to get them ready for their events, being on photo shoots. So kind of there's no typical day, which I really like. And it kind of just keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I totally get that. And for individual clients, do you have specific places that you shop, or do you kind of vision board out like, hey, I think I'm going to do this for your outfit? Like, how do you typically do it? Or it sounds like the world's kind of your oyster.
I'm all about a mood board. I love a good mood board. I think, for me, visuals are everything, especially when you're talking about fashion, because I've had people say, I want something really sleek and chic. And to me, that is a very specific, I know, in my mind, that's one image. I have exactly idea of what that is, but they could be thinking of something totally different. So I say, all right, totally get it. Let me mood board this out for you to make sure we're on the same page. Because I don't want to show up with my version of sleek and chic, and they're like, what is this? This is not what I had in mind. So I love a good mood board. And then from there, translating that into which designers, which stores, which outlets have pieces like this.
How incredibly fun. That's true. Like when you say sleek and chic, I would automatically, my head goes to black, right? Something, right. You would think sleek and chic is like New York black, right? Or Chicago black.
I had an instance where someone said, I want, what was the word they used? Like princess. And which to me is, like kind of like that bubblegum princess. To them, it was something totally different. So I was like, all right, we're going to mood board this out to make sure we're on the same page here.
Right. I mean, princess to me could mean tiara and sparkles and rhinestones and choo-choos. And I'm all about all of that, by the way, for the record.
Love.
Right. Love. Or I guess it could be Princess Diana.
You know what? I'm here for both. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So getting that cohesive vision is what I'm all about.
So if I said to you, I want to be a princess,
Yeah.
what would you do for me?
I mean, to me, I go to tools. So then I think about, okay, so what designers have really big tools? Are we going to go like Jean-Baptiste Bali? Are we going to go Tony Ward? Is it Oscar de la Renta? There's so many different avenues you can kind of go down and play with.
Wow. And what a fun job. And are you always looking for new designers?
Oh, anyone with new designers, send them my way, please. I am always hunting for new designers. I think there's nothing more exciting than to showcase new designers on the red carpet and give emerging artists, kind of a spotlight. I think it's very rewarding, and I think it's really exciting to kind of show different voices and to give other people that red carpet, that opportunity.
No, that's amazing. That's so benevolent. I can't speak today. And speaking of, kind of you and bringing your voice out there and helping people to become their best selves, you wrote a book called The Queer Advantage. Tell us about this. I love this.
So The Queer Advantage, I wrote it. It came out in October 2020, and it actually just came out in paperback last week, I think.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But really, it's about, I interviewed 51 of some of the most successful, inspiring leaders on how being queer positively impacted their career. I think for me, myself, and so many other people, the conversation is so primarily focused on the negatives and the hardships and the struggles of being queer. And, as important as those conversations are, it's not the full story. There's so many amazing things about being queer. And that's kind of what I wanted to showcase in this, and specifically how that translated into our professional lives as well.
Oh, and what did you find? Were there commonalities across? And I think you interviewed people like athletes, CEOs, just all over the map. So I'm so curious.
Everyone from Billie Jean King to Barney Frank to Margaret Cho, Michael Kors, Boy George. But what's so interesting is that there were some similarities and overlap between people, but really each person had a different interpretation of what the queer advantage is. And I think that was one of the most exciting things, is because everyone's interpretation was really unique to them and their own lived experience.
Were there a few that stuck out for you? And what would yours be?
I mean, one that really stuck out to me, he's one of my favorite musicians. He's this really young, amazing artist named Troye Sivan. His songs are on all the radio stations. He's amazing. But he was really talking about the kind of the connective tissue between creativity and being queer, and how growing up, because he felt isolated, he really relied on his creativity, and that was kind of his outlet, and that really resonated with me. And so I think that's one that really stuck out to me for sure.
Got it. And I know you referenced being young and looking at your mom's Vanity Fair magazine. So did that play into your answer as well?
I mean, for sure. It's, I think, even as we were talking about earlier when we're having conversations with clients, like one of my queer advantages is being able to connect with people, I think, on a more intimate level. And I think a lot of it has to do with being queer and kind of having to dig deep to find that connection with people. But I think a lot of my creativity was definitely stemming from when I was younger, and looking through all the fashion magazines and kind of building up that fantasy of what that life could look like.
Wow, interesting. And do you I'm curious, when you have an athlete like Billie Jean King, was it similar? Was there that, sense of kind of being more isolated, feeling different, which leads to creativity? Like, did you find any differences between career paths?
Um, I don't know if there was a difference in, I think the differences in career paths, it was interesting, more so in terms of the age gaps.
Mm.
Because I think the difference in generations, dependent on what their careers were, really, you could highlight the differences there.
Okay, between ages.
Yes, between ages, yes.
Oh, wow. And what inspired you to write the book?
I mean, it was honestly almost out of like selfish reasons that I wanted to have these conversations. I was curious to know the answers. And I really just felt like there was nothing out there that talked about the positives. And I think that that's so important.
I love that.
And not just for queer people, but for parents of queer people. And I think to show what their child's lives can be. So I wanted to create that.
I love that so much. And so didn't Time Magazine call your book one of the 50 most potentially influential books of the year?
Yeah, one of the most anticipated books of the fall. So that was a nice little moment. I was very happily surprised about that.
Oh my gosh. And tell us, what do your parents do? How did they produce someone so amazing?
My parents are lawyers, and they are the best, most unbelievably supportive parents. They could not be more happy and excited about the Queer Advantage. And, you mentioned my sister Elise earlier. They've, all of them are so supportive, and they support Elise. So I'm very lucky.
You're a family of creatively entrepreneurial, amazing people. And do you have any, if we can manifest it out in the universe, they call me the fairy godmother of dating. So I always have a wand here. So if we could manifest, like, who would be some dream people that you would love to style?
Oh my goodness. I would love to, I love working with women who are just unapologetic, who are immensely talented at whatever it is they're doing. So I think of, in terms of like actresses, I think of women like Meryl Streep, or younger, I think Elle Fanning is one of the best actresses of our generation. So, people like that who really have a strong voice, and are immensely talented. Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're going to put it out into the universe.
Let's
Meryl
put it
L,
out.
if you're
Wave that
listening,
wand, and yes.
if you're listening to the Smart Dating Academy podcast, which you should be, listen to my friend Andrew, and he'll definitely set you up. So, do you have any parting fashion advice for us as we re-enter or enter the dating world this winter? Like, how do we just up our game? We're all going to have new tailors, but is there anything else you'd like to impart to us?
You know what? I think what I try to tell people is just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just try to have fun with fashion. It's obviously a very functional tool, but it should be fun, and don't take it too seriously. And I think when it comes to dating, it's, when I was dating, I loved seeing what people wore on their first date or second dates. I think it shows so much of who you are, and to show your personality, whether it's, whether he shows up in a suit and tie, that's very indicative of his personality, or if it's, a really bright colored polo, whatever it is, I think It's nice to see that. So I think have fun with it.
Have fun with it. And okay, so you referenced dating. Tell us about how you met your partner.
We met on Bumble.
Oh, online dating, everyone. Did you hear that? Even celebrity stylists use online dating. I tell you this all the time. And I know they're all going, I know, online dating. I have to do it. And so what made your partner's profile stand out to you? And how did he feel showing up to a date with a celebrity stylist? Like, what was his moment?
I think he could have cared less. He jokes that he has the better fashion sense of us. But I think he came straight from the office, so he was wearing a suit and tie. But I don't really remember the profile, honestly. I do remember being very impressed with his outfit, though. I will say that because it was, I don't think I had been on many dates where someone came up in a suit, showed up in a suit and tie. And we're going to just like a casual Mexican restaurant, but he showed up in a suit and tie. And I remember being very impressed by that.
Okay, ladies and gents, you know what I always say about dating. Step up your game. You look like you're the man with the plan. Look like you respect yourself. And look at what happened. He showed up in a suit, right? To a casual Mexican restaurant. And you weren't like, oh, he looks like he's trying too hard. You were like, oh, game on. Super impressed.
You know what? Here's my thing. Maybe he wasn't even coming from the office and he just said that so he could wear a suit and look good. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
I wouldn't be able to tell a difference. So maybe just say, yeah, oh, sorry, this whole thing, I'm just coming from the office. You know what I mean? Like, show up looking good.
Oh my gosh. Next time I'm going to go out on a date, maybe even with my husband, I'll just be like in sequins, looking like a princess. I'll be like, oh, this whole thing, I came from the red carpet.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
He's not going to know. It's fine.
Right. And as long as you look good, he doesn't care.
Nope. He's not. No one cares. Yep.
No one cares. Just have fun, be yourself, have fun with fashion, and don't be afraid to try different things is what I'm hearing from you, right? Explore different facets of your personality. Surprise people.
So, and age does not matter. So many people say, oh, I'm this age. This is what looks good on me. I'm going to keep doing this. Know what looks good, but also try something new. There's always room to play. And I think that's hopefully one of the biggest takeaways.
Oh, I love that. And, you don't have to necessarily try something new. If you've been nominated for an Oscar, you might want to, but, as most of us maybe aren't in that boat at this point, try something new and maybe try it in a low stakes situation, right? Yeah. Maybe take a photo and add it to your Bumble profile and see how people respond to it, but have fun. Be creative, but most importantly, it's really important that you feel like you look great in what you're wearing.
Yes, feel good about it.
Feel good about it. You are such a love. I wish I could just pull you through the screen and give you a big hug. This has been so fun. And I feel like I have a little more sparkle, and I'm going to take half of my wardrobe to the tailor right now. And I hope for all of you listening, you're feeling the same way at this point. As I have the sleeves folded under on my leather jacket, I've been caught here. So time to go to the tailor. So in Fashion Love, Andrew, seriously, thank you so much. I'm going to put a link to your book in the show notes, and congratulations on all of your success being a kid from Ohio and doing what you're doing now. I couldn't be more proud to know you, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.